Just keep quiet over there.
What are you talking about? I wasn't saying a word.
You're about to.
Am not?
No, you're about to tell me to keep my arms straight, relax my hands, and keep my head down. Just let me sink it, okay?
Fine. I mean, it's not like I get my jollies helping out your short game. I mean, you want me to be quiet, I won't say a word. I can be as quiet as the next guy.
Uncle Frank.
What?
If you're gonna be quiet, keep your mouth shut, your dentures are gonna fall out.
Okay, you keep your head down, I'll be quiet.
Deal.
You didn't keep your head down.
I did so keep my head down. It's just all this noise.
Come on, it's just busting your chops.
It's not just you, it's this racket.
What are you talking about?
All of this. I just need a little quiet.
You feel better now?
Not much.
You want to tell me what's wrong?
I don't know, Uncle Frank. Sometimes I think I'm going crazy.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Sometimes I think you're going crazy, too. Sorry, what's wrong?
I hear things.
Okay, what kind of things?
It's hard to describe.
You mean like voices, something like that?
No.
Well, that's good. That kind of crazy's out of my league.
It sounds like this high-pitched whining sound. Sometimes it's loud, sometimes it's not so loud, but it's always there. Sometimes it sounds like crickets, or sometimes it sounds like whistling.
That's the noise you're talking about?
Yeah.
Are you hearing it now? How long have you been hearing it?
I don't know. I guess I started noticing it when my unit rotated home.
Let me tell you something. When I got back from Nam, my best friend in the world, Cue Ball Johnson, he wasn't a pool player or anything. He was just bald. He had the exact same thing. Scared him to death. He thought he had a brain tumor.
Yeah?
He was so scared he made me go to the doctor with him.
The symptoms you're experiencing are a result of a condition we call tinnitus. The word comes from the Latin word for ringing. We're pretty sure we know what causes it. Here, let me show you. Hearing is actually a very complicated sequence of events. It begins when sound enters the ear and hits your eardrum. Now, the eardrum amplifies the sound and transmits it to the inner ear, where sound vibrations are converted to nerve impulses. You see, in the inner ear, there are tiny hair cells. The vibrations cause these hairs to move, and that motion sends signals to the brain, where everything gets processed.
You understand, Justin, that these aren't the hairs in your ears that you trim when you're going out on a date or something.
And when these hairs are damaged through exposure to noise or injury or disease, you can experience hearing loss. The sounds are blocked from getting through to the brain. And the same damage can cause a bad signal to be sent to the brain, and the brain interprets that as a ringing or a buzzing or whatever. And that's the condition we call tinnitus.
Tinnitus, I've heard of that. That old rock and roll guy, Pete Townsend, he has it.
Who?
Yeah, that's the one.
What's the one?
His band was called The Who. Anyway, after playing loud music for so many years, his ears started ringing all the time. That was like years and years of standing next to giant amps. I never did anything like that.
You tell me even though you were in a combat zone, you weren't around a lot of loud noises?
I'm not saying that. There was always some type of noises. I'm just saying I didn't spend the last 2 decades standing next to King Kong-sized amplifiers, that's all.
Well, maybe the sound you were around all the time in your last tour to the desert is part of it.
You think?
I'm not a doctor. You need to see a specialist.
What did that doctor say about curing these things?
I don't remember exactly. It was 30 years ago.
I hate to be the one to tell you this, Corporal, but there's not a lot we can do about it. We'll try to help the hearing loss with hearing aids, but as for your tinnitus, I'm afraid you're just going to have to learn to live with it.
Anyway, they don't do things now the same way they did 30 years ago. You need to go down to the VA and have yourself checked out. You do it tomorrow.
You didn't keep your head down.
How you doing?
Much better, I saw the doc.
Good for you. What are these?
They told me I'm supposed to wear these whenever I'm in a noisy environment, and I knew you'd be here.
Earplugs, huh? So that took care of everything?
No, there's some other stuff I'm gonna be doing. But I know I'm not crazy now. About my hearing.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You were right. I do have tinnitus.
And?
And it seems like it's probably here to stay.
Yeah, Justin, I'm sorry to hear that.
But like I was saying, there's some things we're gonna be doing to help it.
Good. Really? Like what? What did he say? The doc, I mean.
Well, the doc's a she, not a he. She's an audiologist. She specializes in that kind of thing. First, she explained the same basic hearing stuff your doc said, but had a cooler way of showing it.
Let me show you something, Justin. It'll help you understand tinnitus a little better.
Tinnitus? I thought it was tinnitus.
She said either way is correct.
So there's this thing that means you have a problem with the sounds that you hear, and they can't even figure out what sound the name of it is supposed to make?
You remember the chat about damaged hair cells sending a bad signal to your brain? We've got a little video demonstration to help explain the nature of the problem. Now, pretend this picture is normal hearing. You can see the whole picture, sharp and clear. Now watch. Here, we have hearing loss. The colors are faded, they're not as vibrant, they're not as clear. This is tinnitus. It's not interfering with your ability to see the picture. The only thing really missing is due to hearing loss. But over the top of the picture is a bad signal. To put it in computer terms, there is corruption in the data, and your CPU doesn't know what to do with it. So it becomes noise.
And that's what's happening in my head?
Yeah, we think so. The damaged hairs can't send a clean signal. Your brain interprets this corrupt signal as a high-pitched noise.
Kind of looks like my uncle's old TV when I was a kid.
Yeah, the days before cable.
You got it. I kind of got used to it, though. After a few minutes, forgot about it, sort of watched around it.
That's perfect, Justin, because that's what we're going to do with your tinnitus. We're going to teach you to hear around it or through it.
What the heck does that mean, hearing around it or through it?
Well, here's the thing, see. At the moment, there's no surefire way of getting rid of the noise in my head permanently. So what they do is teach me different ways to kind of adjust to it.
You know, in your case, we've done all the tests to rule out any separate medical issues that might cause the sound you're hearing.
Do you think it's because of the noise I heard on my last tour of duty? I was never standing next to a bomb, but there was a lot of heavy machinery running all the time.
Well, it could be, or it could be completely unrelated. We know of several things that could lead to your condition, but there are no hard and fast rules. We haven't been able to find anything that can permanently get rid of the sound you're hearing. You know, doctors have even tried cutting the hearing nerve between the ear and the brain, and even that doesn't work.
Oh, so you're saying cutting off my head is not an option?
There's still a few things to be worked out before the headectomy is considered safe.
If it would help, I do know an old guy you could practice on.
You didn't really say that, did you?
Listen, all joking aside, you aren't really having any self-destructive thoughts, are you?
Me? You mean like cutting off my own head?
You know, it's not uncommon for people with tinnitus to have stress and anxiety or even depression.
The only destructive thing I've done was to my putter.
Okay. So anyway, we found that even cutting the hearing nerve didn't help. So the problem isn't just in your ear.
My problem is all in my head.
You know, for what it's worth, you're not alone. 40 to 50 million Americans have this problem. That's 10 to 15% of the entire adult population.
So you're saying 1 out of 10 people I see walking around out there is hearing something like this?
There are varying degrees of intensity, but yes.
That's amazing.
It is. And with so many people experiencing this, it's a shame we haven't found something closer to a cure. We've tried several things, the surgical experiments, certain drugs, but even they're very hit and miss. And there are several potential side effects. There have also been some experimental treatments in electrical stimulation, which show some promise, but there's still a lot of work to be done. So none of those things are really an option for you. But even though we can't cure you yet, we have found some very effective techniques for easing the effects.
Did I read somewhere some herbal stuff could help, like ginkgo biloba or something like that?
Well, that's what we try if the leeches don't work. You know, it's save your money, Justin. There's no proof that stuff will help you. You know, we often have a very good response with a technique called masking. The idea is to use sound in different ways to provide relief from the tinnitus. We may not be able to turn off the tinnitus sound, but we can mix in other sounds, and that makes the sound of tinnitus a little less noticeable.
You mean like those white noise machines I've seen people use for sleeping that, have rain and ocean sounds, stuff like that?
Yeah, white noise is definitely one of the things we try, But different sounds work for different people. You know, some people prefer music or even the sound of speech, like books on tape or talk radio. We even have a little device that fits right in your ear, like a hearing aid. These create different versions of these masking sounds.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, this stuff is getting fancier all the time. Our philosophy is simple. Anything that takes the mind off the tinnitus is good.
Okay, so what did she say was not good?
Well, the most important thing is to stay away from loud noises. That's obvious. Avoid stress, get plenty of sleep, make sure my caffeine and salt levels are down. You know, that kind of thing.
That's it? You listen to a Rain CD and cut down on your caffeine? Well, I wish I had a time machine to tell Q Ball all this stuff.
They're also gonna be making me some hearing aids. They'll help me hear better, and doctor says it may help me pay less attention to my tinnitus.
I guess you won't be so quick to make fun of us old people, huh?
I'm gonna have a tiny little modern one, not the coal-fired one your generation wears. And if the hearing aids don't do the trick, they have a lot of other therapies we can try. Did you know they even have this special relaxation techniques that may work?
Relaxation techniques. You gotta learn techniques to relax?
When you have a head full of whistling crickets 24/7? Yeah, you kinda do.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. And all of this so you can hear around it.
Yep, they might never be able to make it go away, but I'll be able to cope with it, and I know I'm not crazy.
It's good. Like watching golf on that old TV when you were a kid.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know, by the way, that TV wasn't all that bad.
Uncle Frank, that TV stunk.
You spend too much time watching TV. You need to get outside a little bit more.
Golfing.
No, like cutting my grass.
Ah, see, now I wish I could help you. Loud noises, so you know.
What about the earplugs?
Ah, those are only for old guy voices. Mine were kind of different.
Tinnitus or tinnitus. Either way you say it, it's a real problem for a lot of people. The good news is there are ways to treat the problem, and they're getting better all the time. If your tinnitus is a problem for you, you can immediately start to use sound in different ways to get relief from your tinnitus. Always keep a background of sound and experiment with different sounds to determine which ones are most helpful. Just make sure, however, that none of these sounds are loud. It's critical that you protect your ears from loud sounds, which can worsen any hearing loss or tinnitus problem. We've only scratched the surface here. To learn more about tinnitus and what to do about it, please write us at the National Center for Rehabilitative Auditory Research. And if you're one of the millions of Americans with tinnitus, we suggest that you see an audiologist or a physician right away. You don't have to suffer.